Like my mama used to say, good land, youngins, there's a storm a-brewing. On this episode of the Carolina Sports Guy, we're going to be talking about the Carolina Hurricanes, the most hated rivals or teams they hate that aren't in the Hurricanes division.
Oh, yeah!
Hello there, YouTube world. On today's episode of the Carolina Sports Guy, we're going to be talking about the Carolina Hurricanes and teams that aren't in the division, but there's somewhat of a rivalry or hatred there for this team for one reason or another, at least for me. I'd like you to subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost anything. Hit the thumbs up button. You know, give me a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are, what you would like me to cover in future content, whether it be the Panthers, the Hornets, or the Hurricanes. And just hit that bell notification to get notified next time you'll see another episode like in today's content. Now, dealing with the Carolina Hurricanes, and I am wearing, well, if I can stand up and show you guys, I'm wearing my number 17 Rod Brindamore jersey that I wore during the Stanley Cup years, the year we won in 2006. Jersey means a lot to me. I don't wear it very often. But coming off a 5-2 win last night against Nashville, game one. By the time you see this and I post it, hopefully we've got a couple more wins in this series so we can move along, I'm hoping. All right, a couple of notes I want to bring up. I'm going to say, looking at, I'd say an honorable mention, the Atlanta Thrashers. I know they don't exist anymore. They moved to Winnipeg, and chances are, if they did exist, they would be clung to the side of the Carolina Hurricanes in the same division because of the close proximity. But I bring them up as an honorable mention because, yes, even though they're don't exist anymore, then they'd probably still be in a division. It was a hated rivalry, and I hated to see it disappear when they moved to Winnipeg. And no offense to the Winnipeg fans, you got your Jets back, but the Atlanta rivalry would have been one for the ages. Another rival I want to look at as an honorable mention is the Nashville Predators. Now, the Hurricanes were thrown into the Central Division because of COVID this year and were placed with Nashville. It's not very far away, in the same division. And I said bad blood. We kind of dominated the series this year, and they won the last two. It's the last game. We lost 5-0, but we didn't really play a lot of players. And we won this first playoff game 5-2, and I'm hoping we can win the second before we go to Nashville, because I think that's where Nashville could really turn it on. And, you know, I want to get out of this series as quick as we can and await the winner of the Florida-Tampa series, which is probably going to be pretty brutal. But I want to list them as honorable mention because if Nashville, this is the only year we may be able to play them in the playoffs. Because if we go back to divisions like they are, Nashville's going back to the Western Division because they're in the Central Time Zone. And the only way we'd be able to play Nashville in the playoffs after this year is if they end up going to the Stanley Cup and we go to the Stanley Cup. So this is the only year that we'll really probably get to play them in the playoffs unless we have some type of division realignment or we do the Central Division all over again. So looking at that, Carolina has a slight edge in head-to-head play with Nashville. They came in the league shortly after the Hartford Whalers moved to Carolina. But I throw them out there as a rivalry because of the close proximity. Now, the number 5 team, rival, this is not in a division, Carolina Panthers, would be the Florida Panthers. Now, I know, I had to do a video and go back and look at it, the history of the Southeast Division, and Florida was a rival with Atlanta and Washington and Tampa Bay. And so they have been in the division, but the rivalry didn't develop because either Carolina wasn't very good. Florida, I mean, the one time they did make the Stanley Cup run, I believe was the year before the Hurricanes moved from Hartford. The Whalers moved from Hartford to Carolina. So it's really been long since they've had any playoff success at all. So we need to kind of see that to generate a rivalry. And it would be good being in the Eastern Conference if both these teams can meet in the playoffs a couple of times and develop a rivalry. The 2021 Stanley Cup playoffs might change that between these two teams if they meet in round 2. But the Carolina Hurricanes have a head-to-head edge through the years between these two teams. All right. Next, number 4 is the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa Bay, same thing as Florida. 14-year history. They were in the same division, the Southeast Division. Tampa has won a couple Stanley Cups. One of those Stanley Cup years that they won, I believe they were, if I'm not mistaken, it was early on years of the Southeast Division. When they won the last one, of course, they were in a different division than the Hurricanes. But we're placed in the same division this year with COVID. They've never met in the playoffs. Tampa ends up beating Florida, and we end up beating Nashville, hopefully. They will meet in the second round. And, you know, they've had some good games over the years. Tampa's at times been very difficult to beat. And at times we've matched up fairly well with Tampa. But it seems like when we've been good, they haven't been. And when they've been good, we haven't been. So if we could meet in the playoffs a couple of times, it could develop into an intense rivalry, and that would be good to see. But Tampa has beaten the Canes more than Carolina has beaten the Lightning over their history in the regular season. Now, the third team, and this is where I'm going to need your comments, because the third team that I have on this list as a rivalry that is not or never has been in the same division with the Hurricanes is the Detroit Red Wings. And of course, this is going to date back to when Detroit was in the Western Conference in 2002, and they beat Carolina 4-1 in the Stanley Cup. And I remember going to that game. Got a little bit of a brawl with a Detroit Red Wing fan outside. And, you know, that's the sad thing of it all. Yeah, Detroit had our number. Detroit had our number. And those were some pretty good years where they had Fedorov and some of the other guys that they had. Now, Detroit's in the Eastern Conference now since we've moved to 30 teams or more. They're in the Eastern time zones, probably where they need to be, although I feel closer in proximity to Nashville. And since they've been moved, you know, not in the same division with the Hurricanes, in the division with Tampa and Florida and, you know, Chicago and Toronto. The one thing about it, Detroit has played the Hurricanes more often than not now because they're in the Eastern Conference. So we'll probably get to see them in the playoffs more. Problem is right now, since they have been in the Eastern Conference, Detroit's been on the downside. They've been pretty bad. But even in this year in the Central Division, Detroit was placed against us. They've been one of the worst teams. But they matched up fairly well with the Hurricanes, and they beat the Hurricanes, were a thorn in the Hurricanes' side this year. As a matter of fact, I think it was pretty evenly matched. I didn't go back and look at it. And although Detroit has a better record against the Hurricanes all time in regular season, as far as this year with the Hurricanes having a better team, I believe it was pretty much nip and tuck, 50-50 between these two squads this year. So we'll see what the future holds. Now, going back, and I want to look at this. The two teams that really need to be looked at, I say as a hated rival, our team I cannot stand, that are not in the Hurricanes division, never have been, but we played them in the playoffs. I just don't like them. I don't like their fans. Number 2 is the Buffalo Sabres, a.k.a. the Banana Slugs. Remember that jersey would look like they had a banana slug on their jersey? Carolina has a close 40-38 series lead between these two teams since the Whalers have moved down to Carolina. And they've only met once in the playoffs, the 2006 Eastern Conference Final. Pretty evenly matched, in Carolina, because they have home ice, won that 4-3. Buffalo fans are some of the nastiest fans out there. I'll give them, they're loyal. They're loyal with the Bills, they're loyal with the Sabres. Hey, what happened to your NBA team, the Buffalo Braves? Anyway, the thing about it is, the Buffalo Sabres, nasty fans. And it's one of those teams that they make the playoffs, and you make the playoffs and you play them, the fans are going to show up. It's going to be ugly. And they've always played kind of like the city of Buffalo, a gritty, tough, hard-nosed way to play. So that's the team I can't stand as far as it's not in a division as a rival. And the number 1 team, and I think everybody agree, and for several reasons. I could do a video in itself about this. One team that's never been in the Hurricanes division, plays in the Eastern Conference, has been a thorn in the Hurricane side, even dating back when it was the Hartford Whalers. The Boston Bruins. Hate, hate, hate. Players like marching, particularly their team, the city of Boston, arrogant fans. I remember when the Hurricanes were on a talk show in Boston last year in the playoffs, and one of our sports guys from Raleigh called in. And of course, he had a southern drawl like me. I don't talk about a bunch of chatterheads. But he called up there, man, and the guy hung up on him and talked shit about the guy. And it was so disrespectful. And if you're going to cover a team and a franchise and you think you're better because of where you live or because of your history, I mean, who the hell are you?
Nice movie.
But this rivalry does date back to when it was the New England Whalers and Hartford, and they were originally Boston. But the New England Whalers, and they moved to Hartford and were forced to change the name to the Hartford Whalers when they come from the WHA to the NHL in 1979. Boston dominated that series. They dominated the series in the regular season between the Hurricanes as well. But 1999, first taste of playoff hockey, Boston beats Carolina 4-2 in the quarterfinals. And I believe that's when the series ended. That Steve Chason, the defenseman, lost his life from drinking and driving. 2019, Boston beats Carolina 4-0. 4-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals just a couple of years ago. And they had a lot of injuries, and we were tired, and we really went through beating Washington and the Islanders. And then last year in the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs, Boston beat Carolina 4-1. It's a nasty team to play. But I don't want to leave out the 2009 Carolina Hurricanes with Scotty Walker as we beat the Boston Bruins 4-3. Moved on to the Eastern Conference Finals against Pittsburgh, where we'd lose. So, yeah, we played 4 times in the playoffs, and they kind of spanked us 3 times. But we did beat their ass once. But I just do not like the Boston Bruins. Don't like the players, their fans, their colors, the team. Just don't like them. But anyway, Hurricane fans, even fans of other teams, tell me what you think of this content. You know, give me the good, the bad, and the ugly in it. Tell me what you'd like to see in future reviews, videos like this for the Hurricanes, for the Panthers, and the Hornets. And as always, make sure you subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost anything. Pound that like button. Hit the bell notification so that you'll know that other videos and future content will be developed. And we'll see you next time on Carolina Sports Guy.